large part of the country just experienced its first Arctic blast of the season.
Tonight, howling winds, whiteout conditions, and treacherous roads. Millions stunned by an early punch of winter cold that's bringing the first major snow of the season.
If you think the snow stayed to the north, think again. Take a look at this video out of Carter County, Tennessee. Yeah, Middle Tennessee seeing its first snow of the season.
Now, if this was foreshadowing a colder than normal winter this year, a lot of people will have to make an expensive choice this holiday season. Massive data centers are popping up all over the country, and they're increasing the electricity costs significantly for the areas where they're congregating. These price increases will make a lot of people reconsider turning on the heat this year. But just to show how bad the situation is, let's go into detail with some of the most impacted regions. The first region, and arguably the most impacted, is the DMV, or the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and specifically Northern Virginia. Virginia has become the data center capital of the world due to its tax incentives and its proximity to the DC area. According to the data center map, Virginia has 666 currently listed data centers. You heard me right, 666.
Coincidence? I think not!
This is the highest total for any state in the country, and most of these data centers are clustered around the towns of Sterling and Ashburn. These towns are just right across the Potomac River from the DC area. Ashburn has actually been nicknamed Data Center Alley, and some of the biggest companies in the world have invested billions of dollars into this area. Amazon's data services wing just purchased a large plot of land in Northern Virginia for $700 million. It has already been approved for data center rezoning. Google has agreed to invest $9 billion in Virginia through 2026 for cloud and AI infrastructure. All of this seems like it would be very profitable for the state and its residents. So what's the problem? Well, Dominion Energy, which serves 2.7 million residents in Virginia, has just submitted a proposal to raise their prices by 15%. This would be an average of $21 per month, or $252 per year. Now, this might not seem like a massive increase, but considering the affordability crisis going on in the country right now, there are not a lot of people who can handle additional expenses. Along with these rate increases, these utility companies also pass along the cost to consumers through the use of fees.
Hey, I don't think Dominion is giving you a full story.
Dominion customer Dennis Miller says the rest of the story lies in these bills.
It's the first rate increase they've had since '92. I started looking at the bills and going, okay, then why am I paying more money?
The answer? Fees. Miller showed us two bills 5 years apart. They showed nearly the same usage. But his bill increased because of something called the distribution service fee.
That is the fees that are related to getting the electric service from the grid to the customer's door.
And it can also cover special Dominion projects. Think burying power lines and wind turbines. It can vary with usage. And that's gone up.
But you got a 66% increase in your distribution rate for that same 5-year period.
Another fee? Deferred fuel cost charge.
That is a mechanism to recover costs for fuel that has already been used.
That's the fuel to power the power plants: coal, hydro, natural gas, nuclear.
In the Virginia governor's race earlier this month, Abigail Spanberger won with a very large margin after promising to make data centers pay their own way.
The data centers are expanding across Virginia, increasing power demand and expected to raise energy bills even more for all Virginians. Ms. Spanberger, what is your plan to make sure data centers have the power they need and Virginians don't get stuck with the bill? You have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. So data centers are coming to Virginia, and many localities want to welcome them. And it's important that they pay their fair share. And as governor, I will ensure that data centers pay their fair share.
So it seems like residents are looking for people to fight for them against these massive corporations. The data center boom doesn't seem to have a lot of fans in the state. Now we can move on to another impacted region, Ohio. According to the data center map, Ohio currently has 194 listed data centers, which would make them the 5th highest in the country. 121 of these 194 data centers are clustered in the city of Columbus. Back in December 2024, the governor Mike DeWine announced a $10 billion investment from Amazon Web Services in Ohio to expand its data center infrastructure. If we refer back to the data center map, Amazon currently has 28 data centers in Ohio, and all of them are in the Columbus area. Now let's get to the bad side. According to independent monitor of the local utility, households in Columbus saw their electricity prices increase by $20 a month, or $240 a year. Now let's look at another example in a region that might be the most densely packed with these data centers, Georgia. According to the data center map, Georgia currently has 162 data centers. Now, 145 of those data centers are all in the Atlanta area. That is almost 90% of the state's data centers, all clustered in the same city. Microsoft announced a $1.8 billion investment in Atlanta back in July of 2024. They just revealed their new data center in the city, which they're calling the world's first AI super factory. If we look at the state as a whole, according to the US Energy Information Administration, Georgia power customers are paying $43 more per month or $516 more per year than they were 2 years ago. So it seems like while AI data centers aren't the cause of all energy price increases across the country, they are increasing prices in areas where they're extremely clustered and dense around these major cities. Now we're going to look into why that's the case. Why are these data centers increasing prices? It's not like these data centers aren't owned by the largest corporations in the world who can easily pay their own electricity bill and will happily pay the same rate as any other customer. The problem is actually caused by their massive demand for power. These data centers are like energy sponges. Data centers accounted for 4.4% of total US electricity consumption in 2023. Now that figure is expected to grow to 12% by 2030. Because of this massive increase in demand, power suppliers have to build the infrastructure necessary to meet these data centers' needs. This infrastructure is very expensive to build and to maintain, so these suppliers are passing the cost down to their customers. Additionally, there are these things called capacity auctions. So let's discuss how this works. You get electricity by paying your local utility. They get the electricity from the power grid operator, which is pulling and allocating energy from all the power plants. Now, these power grid operators like to have extra capacity for additional power just in case demand peaks for any reason. So the power grid operator actually pays these power plants to hold on to a little bit of their capacity and not use it, but just have it ready so that they can ramp up the amount of power they can generate in case of an emergency. That's what happens at a capacity auction. These power plants come and offer their extra capacity to the power grid operator, who then bids and pays a fair price for that capacity. Now, because of the massive demand of these AI data centers, the power grid operator now needs a higher peak of maximum capacity. So then they have to buy more capacity from the power plants. Now this makes the auction more expensive because the power grid operator, which is the demand, is higher, but the supply stays the same, which increases the cost of that extra capacity. As a result, auction prices went up 800% in 2024. Basically, to make a long story short, the power grid operator has to pay more money to run their business and to keep the power grid stable. Now they're going to pass the cost down to the utility, who's going to pass the cost down to you. Now these power grids are so massive that you don't even have to be living next to a data center for this change to impact you. For example, PJM, which is North America's largest power grid operator, covers Virginia, Maryland, DC, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey, as well as parts of Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. That means you could live hundreds of miles away from the data center boom in Virginia and still be impacted. In conclusion, the AI craze and the resulting data center boom has put additional costs on power grid operators and local utilities. And as a result, regular residents and regular households are bearing the burden for extra power consumption that they have nothing to do with. There are some potential remedies legislatively that can be implemented to force these data centers to pay for the additional cost of their power consumption. Not just the cost of the power, but the additional infrastructure costs. But considering how much tax revenue is at stake if these massive corporations decide to take their data centers elsewhere, it might be hard to get these local governments to act. But that's all I got, and if you found this video informative, make sure to like and subscribe. Stay warm out there, and I'll see you on the next one.